Hello, Paul. How's it going?
Oh, everything is great. How are you, Jacqueline?
I'm good. I went home to my parents' house in New Jersey this weekend, and so I'm feeling rejuvenated by that. That was very fun. And I'm going back to New Jersey this weekend, so it's going to be a lot of traveling for me, but all very good, lovely things. Lots of snow. It's looking like a winter wonderland outside. I'm cruising. I'm having a good time. What about you?
But you're in Maine, so it's you get real snow.
Yeah, we do have real snow.
I'm in DC where we had a little bit of a sprinkling, which was great because we could just drive around anywhere we wanted. So, because nobody else drives in the snow,
Oh,
where everybody is, yeah, it's great.
too
Traffic is
scared. Yeah.
light, and it's great.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's nice to see the year almost over, and it was a really hard year for us, and it was a test.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we kind of survived.
In the mess, there's meaning, someone
Oh,
said.
oh, no, no, no. In the mess, there is movement.
Movement. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That really shifted my perspective when all of this started. Like Trump came in, it was really overwhelming. I wasn't here for the first Trump administration, so it was just like, oh my gosh, there was, 20 executive orders on day one. It was crazy, classic flood the zone. And you said that, and I was like, okay, and then not to steal your thunder, I'm sure you're going to talk about this, Paul, but as we went through the year and we made changes to accommodate this level of news output and, kind of shifted our coverage to focus a little bit more on that because it's so important to our readers. I think that our readers responded. I think that those stories became some of our most popular stories. And once again, it's because our readers really needed to know this stuff. And so I think that was really lovely to be a source of news in a really chaotic time for people who needed that info.
Well, you had to stay calm because that kind of was the whole purpose of the exercise is for people to not be calm. And catastrophizing was easy, but I think all of us try to keep catastrophizing as to kind of a personal agony.
Yes.
Nobody knew just, what was happening to our intestines.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
I hope no one knew. But
So,
really, it was, I think I don't know if you had the same experience. The source of calm for me was reaching out to my friends in this field and seeing how they actually feel about all of this. And in the mess, there is movement, that's true, but also the leadership in the field is what mattered. And I keep thinking of Joe Simone an awful lot because he had this amazing line that leadership does matter. It sounds like not even very much of a bit of wisdom, but it's a lot if you let it be.
yeah.
So in a mess, there is movement, yes, but leadership does matter. And I think a lot of our coverage reflects that. All of us were, I'm so glad we had this really fantastic team to get through this, and we still have that fantastic team. And there's spring in everybody's step because, you don't have spring in your step, you sink,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially at times like these.
Yeah.
So what we started was the podcasts, including this one,
Hmm.
and we started a section. But I think we should probably talk about the podcasts first.
Yeah, I mean, I just because I'm going to forget this, I just want to say also talking about the leadership side of things is, if I remember correctly, I mean, you had been thinking about the idea for the directors for a while, but I think that was definitely a kind of a kick in the butt to get it going, where we have sort of a leadership vacuum at NCI once Kim and Rathmel stepped down. Of course, Doug Lowy's amazing, but he wasn't necessarily like proclaiming himself as leader in that time, and the hearing directly from the leaders in oncology and about what's happening, getting their perspective, like you said, it brought you so much peace to actually hear what people are talking about. that's basically what we brought to our readers, is the two directors every month talking about what's going on. And I think that was huge. And that is basically half, I guess, of our new podcast sort of persona. Maybe technically less than half, but it's a big part of it. And then, of course, the other side is the in the headlines, which is this, which is mostly me and you.
Yeah. But with the directors, let's go back to that
Mhm.
because that's really interesting. I had this idea in the midst of catastrophizing and trying not to. This happened after the election, and it was very clear that this time the Trump administration is going to know that there is such a thing as NIH,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and that it's going to actually do stuff
Yeah.
within NIH. And I was thinking, okay, we have a role here that we must play, which is connect this field with the collective leadership of this field.
Yeah.
And I had this crazy idea of doing a podcast where we would bring on two directors, not one, and that it would all sort of work like Passover Seder at my house, where people talk past each other or past me at least, which is kind of like what happened. And then I did what I usually do when I'm confused. I called Otis first, and then I called Rob Wynn.
Mhm.
And Otis said, "Yeah, sure, do it." And great idea. And Wynn said, "Yeah, let's do it." Much more enthusiastic.
Nice.
Um, and and I said, "Well, that just means you, Rob, are going to be on the first episode." And since a lot of information, a lot of the attacks were going to be against. We were worried about COE, we were worried about DEI, and we were worried about Surtech.
Yeah.
So why don't we really talk about all of that? And so we had
Yeah.
the first episode was with Rob and with John Carpton, and it was really
Mhm.
illuminating.
Yeah.
So it kind of got off to a really good start. And then most recent one is that we just finished taping was with Rob Wynn again. We broke our rules and brought somebody back twice.
Wow. I
It's
didn't know that.
yeah, we have a rule. We break every rule we have. Don't get me
I
wrong,
know.
because we're the cancer letter,
Mhm.
and Joanne Sweezy, and since Rob is past president of AACI, and
Mhm.
Joanne Sweezy is of course now president of AACI. We could really talk more about the cancer centers and how that works. And
Yeah.
throughout this, we had a sponsor, ASCO, and that was, they got on board right away and said, yeah,
Mhm.
let's do it. And
Mhm.
that's how we were able to even get it started.
Yeah.
So many thanks to ASCO for making it happen. It's
Absolutely.
easy to forget, but because they did and we did bring out the voice of leadership of this field,
Yeah.
and we did that every month for 12 months now, and we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again next year and the next year and the next year. This is a very important bit of what
Yeah.
we do. And
Yeah.
we never, until then, we never really had two people, kind of a podcast with two people from, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. The conversation with the cancer letter was pretty common. You talking to one director of a cancer center
or
usually.
you, yeah.
Well, I don't know if I ever actually did it. I have to think. I don't think so. I think that's a Paul exclusive. Well, I guess maybe
It doesn't
like
have
other
to
people before
be.
me. It doesn't have to be, yes. But the point is that we have brought sort of their perspective into the cancer letter before, but yeah, the conversation between the two of them is so valuable, and like you said, I don't think that value is going to go down even if it gets less chaotic.
Yeah, what's also really interesting is in the beginning we had we had a discussant as well, or two discussants. Even the first one had two discussants, and discussants were wonderful. I'm glad, but we learned so much about that kind of how we did that we decided to kind of let that part of it go away, the discussant bit, because why? I mean, you've got two directors; they speak for what's really happening, and we learned that from this.
Yeah.
So it's it's lessons learned. So
Yeah.
there's that, yeah, and then the weekly podcast also began this year.
Yeah, shout out to our producer. Is that technically your well, sorry, Imani, we're going to cut this. I forget your actual title. It's digital media strategist, right?
But yeah, she's really making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, she
Thank you.
enabled us to have these new, I mean, because we had the Cancer History Project podcast previously, but we didn't have any of these, and we definitely didn't have the not only the capacity, but the technological wherewithal. I think both me and you, Paul, would would crack under that pressure. But thankfully, Imani got it out. And I mean, speaking of, lessons learned, I didn't ever think I was gonna be doing a podcast every week. So I think that's been a real,
Yeah.
like learning opportunity, and also just fun to talk about it in a more casual, colloquial way. Just a new skill.
Yeah, but what else happened is sometimes our podcasts, which are available on every platform, would become the most read or most accessed story.
Yeah.
Cancer.
Yeah. And I mean, at least one time, I think we actually had to break news on the podcast
Yeah.
story, quote unquote, because they come out on Wednesday and our normal issue comes out on Friday. So I think actually, if I remember correctly, the one about Pazder leaving, we broke on the podcast. I could be wrong about that, but
No,
one of the
no,
really big ones. I'm not. Okay, great. Thank God.
no. Actually, I think it was about him becoming the
Yes.
Cedar
Yep.
director. We broke that on the podcast,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was
Which
an
has been
amazing.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nice to have like some nimbleness. Is that the right word? Nimbility?
Nimbility is good. It rhymes with imbecility.
It's convenient. No, but
Be
yeah, it's just been
nimble
nice to
and
have
quick.
yes, and adaptable and things like that. It's been cool to have this extra platform and extra way of communicating, and clearly it's resonating. I mean, people, like you said, people are really tuning into it. So
Yeah, and what was also interesting to see is that around May, not around, but in May, our readership went way up.
I know.
We were just kind of right around 100,000 users, just reaching that kind of from below, and that's just on the people who come to the website. We were a little under, and there's a lot of people pass along the issue, which is perfectly fine if it's within an institution. But now we are easily at about 200,000 unique users, which is enormous.
So
Good we
crazy.
can, yeah, and I think maybe it's the events, maybe it's the podcasts,
I think
maybe
probably
it's
both, right? Yeah, I think it's a combination. Um, yeah,
yeah,
like we had to, like, even like we were saying, there's too much news for just Friday. We put out news
yeah,
sometimes on the podcast, and I also think just because, you know, since it's so chaotic and since it's so complicated and so much is happening, I think the fact that we were able to bring just like a conversational reiteration of what we already published, couldn't have hurt. It could not have hurt to help people really understand what was going on and feel more secure in their knowledge, and to feel less overwhelmed by it. So yeah, I definitely think it's a combination of the two, for sure.
stability. That's
Yes.
what we were bringing to this thing all through the year, because instead of catastrophizing, suddenly you could see once a month two directors of cancer
Mhm.
centers who are really leaders of the national cancer program saying, okay, we're doing this. okay, here's what I'm worried about. But this is what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Basically, two leaders of this field practice psychiatry without a license. That's really what it's about. And us too, because we did not do stories, and boy, none of us have a license
I know.
of
To be
any
clear,
story.
no medical
to
advice.
be to be clear, we're all unlicensed. Uh, but what we ended up doing was every week we did a story, and if we didn't understand the story, we didn't go there,
Mhm.
and eventually we kind of caught up with the flooding of the zone. I would say it was around May that we pretty much didn't have to just jump up and down and and box with the shadows.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that was, and we can sort of maybe shift to talking about this as well, which was another pretty big change for the cancer letter, was the addition of the new section called cancer policy.
Yeah.
And again, this was before my time, but it's not the first time we've added a new section after a big event out in the world. I think we had a COVID section before, right?
We
Um,
had a COVID roundup
mhm.
because it was like this,
Yeah.
flooding of the zone. Italy has got X number of thousand people who are dying, and here's a disease that's showing up in the Pacific Northwest, and what's happening in Philadelphia, and what anybody is doing, and all of that was really, we needed to just jump in and do that, but then it kind of wilted. I'm not
Mhm.
sure that the cancer policy thing will ever wilt. We'll
I
know it
don't.
if it does. It just won't be written. That's how we'll know. But
Yeah.
now we all really know because, oh, plus it's a little bit different right now. It's kind of, and it's very important. It's doing something very important for us because a lot of the battles right now are being fought on the vaccine front
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
FDA, and that's not what the cancer letter does, except it is
Yeah.
to some extent. So it's kind of an excuse to go into another field in a way that affects us, and it's really interesting because we barely, you're as much an editor on a daily basis. You're as much an editor as I am, more. And yeah, and I don't think you write some of these stories, and I write very, very rarely for that section, but I don't think internally we even discuss it very much.
No. Yeah, it's kind of just very obvious. Like we all kind of, because I think well, all of the editorial team. I was going to say me, Sarah, and Claire, but you too, Paul. We all sort of have our how we get our news. We get our own updates, and so we all. A lot of times there's a lot of overlap, but we all have sort of things that we encounter that we are like, nope, that has to go in cancer policy. And so we have this like shared document that we kind of just build over the course of the week. But almost never is it like, oh no, that shouldn't be in there. It's like, nope, that we all have a pretty good understanding. And like you're saying, it isn't really something we said. It's sort of by feel. But it's been really helpful, I think, because when we I don't know if you remember, well, you remember, Paul, but maybe for listeners, when Trump first got elected, we had a couple weeks where we were doing a story that was a roundup of everything that was happening in Washington. And so the story had subheads and, it felt sort of unmanageable. And I think that having the cancer policy section was really great because it allowed us to, put everything that we couldn't write a full story on into a section, make sure our readers are updated, make sure that they have the info. And like you're saying, even if it's not necessarily directly cancer, it's still something that is very relevant to our readers. I mean, take the vaccine stuff, it's just the state of regulatory policy in the US. Like it has implications, but like you're saying, it's not necessarily directly in our domain. But yeah, it's been really nice to make sure that we have a space for that doesn't end up like overwhelming us and where we feel like we have to write in-depth stories about every single thing because we're a small team. We can't do that. We got to focus on oncology.
Well, it's also a blessing because what we do is we do the stories that nobody else is doing. We do the compilation of stories that no one else can. We
Hmm.
have an audience that we have to be very respectful of
Exactly.
in terms of how much they need to know that we can
Hmm.
provide and how much can we provide, you know. So it's actually, I don't think we need, if we had two more reporters, maybe we could use one more, maybe. I'm not sure we need one. But well, you might disagree, and we'll have that conversation offline. But
No, it wasn't.
but two, I couldn't see a need for.
Yeah, they'd be
One can
bored.
always use one more reporter,
Exactly.
but two more. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know what that person would do.
Yeah, put a little bit of them.
So it's so we're kind of like staffed up pretty nicely on this,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think we're serving a new purpose, which is wonderful.
Mhm.
So calming the place down, you know,
Yeah.
and actually things aren't so horrid. The end, you know, there was a story in the New York Times saying that the United States is out of the cancer war on cancer business. It's signed a declaration of surrender. It's not really true.
Yeah.
Um, the new NCI director is a card carrying scientist. Um, he's terrific. He would be a great find for any administration. FDA is a matter of great concern right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and oncology at FDA is especially for us a
Of
matter of
course.
great concern.
Yeah.
But in a way, it will be a very interesting story for us to cover because, you know, FDA, what is it? Is it like regulating about a quarter of U.S. economy?
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, something like that. It's in the
Yeah.
trillions.
Yeah.
You compare DOD. I actually was at a dinner party yesterday, and I was talking to someone from DOD, and I said, "How much is DOD as part of the U.S. economy?" And we sort of thought all the contractors and everything, maybe 100 billion or so a year. That's a small fraction
Hmm.
of NCI. Oh, excuse me, of FDA, of what FDA regulates.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's 100 billion, might be more, but it's. But in any case, it's much smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and right now, you better believe that the industry wants stability. All
Hmm.
industries that are affected by this want stability because stability and predictability make it possible to make money
Yeah.
and also to do good. Don't forget
Yeah.
that part too.
Also that, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
No.
yeah. I mean, you want to be pragmatic and therefore doing good is, well, you know, secondary, but it's not. It's not
No.
in this case.
It's the root. It's the root of it.
Yeah, that's what should be the goal. And in a lot of cases, it is the goal,
Yeah.
actually. And, you know, look, think of all the friends we have in pharmaceutical industry. None of them would be doing that for money alone.
Yeah.
So I think the administration is hearing about this, and that will be a very interesting story to
Yeah.
cover
Yeah.
the chaos and I look bio statement in our most recent issue was pretty clear.
Yeah.
No more chaos, right the ship.
Yep.
And you know, when checks are being written, that's a big that's a very unambiguous statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
but that's where we are. Can we talk about some of the stories that were our top stories this year?
Oh yeah.
And
We're gonna have.
actually, before we do, let me just do a little prequel because every year for years, we've been doing this now, and you can never predict what is the number one story going to be. Never. It can be a brief. It can be something
Mhm.
from 4 years ago. It can be absolutely. So the winner is ta-da.
The winner is a farewell post by an unidentified NCI employee triggers an accusation of quote undermining the Trump administration. That one was shocking. That was that was I think it was a cancer policy. Let me just double check. Um, Let me check. Yep, that was a cancer policy in May, right as we were getting our feet under us, as you say. But it was related to the closing of the NCI Office of Communications and Public Liaison, which was, again, I hear you, Paul. I think, the catastrophizing is not totally warranted. All that is true. There's clearly congressional support for NCI and cancer research. It's a bipartisan issue. All of that is still true. We have a good NCI director, et cetera. But there were some things that happened that were, I don't want to say traumatic, but serious and scary and overwhelming. And I think that the closing of that office was definitely one of the main ones, especially just for our community who, knew them and relied on them. And for someone outside of cancer who heard, the more like DOGE efficiency side of, or perspective on that idea where, it's waste, or it's, it can be centralized to NIH, which is definitely part of what they did. I think that that's all like potentially valid, but I think because we know them as humans, it just had a different tone for us.
Yeah, that stunk. But it's also really strange and ironic, actually, because I just did a Q&A with Tony Latai, who said that he wants to bring back that function of NCI, and it's makes all kinds of sense because the National Cancer Act of 1971 makes this one of the it's one that gives a mandate to NCI to conduct this kind of activities, similar to NASA, which also had a public information piece of it because it was a space shot, and it still kind of is.
Shot. Yeah.
Yeah, war on cancer, space shot and moon shot, all of that. It was a lot like that. So I think they're going to rebuild. Rebuilding there are always opportunities in rebuilding, but it also is very sad to lose, and this is on a note of somebody who's covered this forever, the biggest part of that office was the PDQ, the physician desk query. So, which is, very important part of what NCI did. Maybe there's a way to do it better. Maybe there's a way to revive it.
Yeah.
It's very expensive, and it's money well spent.
Yeah. We'll have to ask Latai next time we talk to him. I think you asked him that, right?
Actually, I don't think we need to ask him. I'll tell you why. No, seriously, we do not need to ask him that question because it's going to come up in a very public way.
Yeah.
And he said that he is interested in this. He said that he's got the support to rebuild that function, whether it's housed at NIH and NCI. I don't think anybody gives a rip. Same with, apparently Cancer Center Review has gone remarkably well this year, and despite catastrophizing, in which we did not engage, but it went pretty well. This could go pretty well, even though it will be done, under the imprimatur of NIH rather than NCI or whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
We would.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's working and the people who are actually being reviewed are happy, that's our place. Some of the other top ones was the elimination of the BSA, which was pretty surprising.
The stories, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Top stories of the year. That was pretty surprising. And again, I think it's sort of this similar refrain where things aren't as scary or bad as you necessarily originally think, but that first news, and it's not just us, right? We're reporting the news. It's not catastrophizing, but it's a little just unsettling for people to have so much change so fast. NCI does have a new ad hoc working group that has basically taken on the responsibility of the former BSA, but we actually have to follow up on that. That's a good reminder for myself to see how that's going.
I don't think anything is out yet. That's new.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, no, I follow up on that. But it is a very real thing.
Mhm.
that new group. And
Yeah.
yeah, the only difference though is that this is not an appointment by the White House, which it was. Well, NCAB actually, let's just even back up a little bit.
Mhm.
NCAB is in the National Cancer Act. It is not. It's in the real advisory committee that needs to exist, and it would take an act of Congress, I guess, to kill it, and that's not going to happen. And besides, it's useful. So what NCI did was, per DOGE, it got rid of the BSA, which is, uh, and then it created a new subcommittee, as you said, of the NCAB, which serves the same function. Do we care? Should we care? I
I don't
mean,
know. I mean, as long as it gets done, it's just we all just have to see and make sure. But um,
I
as
think
long.
I think the difference is that I don't know who actually appoints the members. I think it's actually an NCI director, uh, uh, and that's great. Uh, and before that, it was the White House. So if you want to have a certificate on the wall, and you care about those certificates on the wall, and most people who are on that committee couldn't care
Yeah.
less about who signed your certificate that you're not going to put on the wall, because your wall space is limited.
Yeah, limited.
It's already full.
Yeah.
So yeah, no pictures of kids and grandkids.
Mhm.
So I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. Interesting thing will be who is going to be on that committee, but the
Mhm.
people who have seen on that committee are superb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, yeah. And then I'll just give one more of the like sort of top stories is about pediatric cancer research cut from spending legislation at last minute. Be, and that's sort of an ongoing story. And I'm not going to get into too much detail on it because that's really Claire's sort of coverage, but that is ongoing and a continuous battle, largely led by Nancy Goodman. Right.
So it's a story number 3, right?
Yeah, that's story number 3.
Wow. Great. Interesting.
Maybe also a cancer, but I think that might be a story itself, actually. Let me just see.
It doesn't matter if it's cancer policy. It's
Well, it's just interesting that, like we
yeah.
said, so many of them. No, that was a real story, but or a full story, not a real story. There's really no cancer policy prejudice here. We love cancer policy. It's
No, we
great.
love it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It allows us to do things like cover Medicaid, which we never used to,
Hmm.
which we hardly ever did in the past.
Yep.
So yeah, that's interesting. And what's the next one after that?
Next one is basically our first story on RFK.
The one,
It's
the one.
what Trump's pick of RFK Jr. means for cancer, epidemics, HPV stunted research.
Interesting.
Which is
A work in progress.
yeah, yeah. That one is yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, we've covered that a lot, and
Yeah.
we will cover it a lot. So it's interesting because it was RFK who convinced Pastor to take the job at Cedar, but but eventually it just sort of showed that there's a rift between him and McCary and Prasad, which is kind of the same entity. That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that is really interesting. So what's the next one after that?
Well, I'll give one more, but I think we are deep in this podcast. Oh well, it was the next one, of course, is Rathmel stepping down, and at that point, Wafiq El-Diri and Harvey Reish were the two that were being interviewed to replace her at the time. Obviously, neither of them ended up getting the job, but that was of top prime utmost importance to our readers. NCI director. I remember the whole year I was like, NCI director, NCI director. Are we gonna get a nice
Yeah,
NCI director?
what Kim did that was really extraordinary was after she stepped down on the last day of the Biden administration. she wrote a series of columns for the Cancer Letter.
Yeah.
Those columns are among my favorite things that we ever published,
Hmm.
because she was exercising leadership in that kind of a Joe Simone way, which is leadership does matter. You should speak to the field. You should console the field. You should tell people not to lose. Well, to think strategically, not just not to lose hope. That's a whole nother matter.
Yeah.
This is more like to think strategically about what's coming, and there you go.
Yeah.
No, I love those stories. So
Me too. I think I agree with you. I think that they're some of my favorite things we've ever published. There was just they were so human, and I think NCI. I mean, yeah, kind of lots of different thoughts coming out of my head at once. But NCI directors are some are people that I pay a lot of attention to, obviously, as a reporter here. But of course, they're usually kind of bracketed in by bureaucratic responsibilities. They can't really just totally freely say what's on their mind, and that's how it should be. I'm not saying anything negative about that, but I think it was just really nice and refreshing to be able to like fully really get like the real Kim Rathmel, almost like working through what she was experiencing as all of this was happening with her field, with her family, with her community. So I thought that was really powerful, and I thought that was a really important sort of addition to those issues where there was a lot of stuff going on and there was a lot of sort of worry and concern and chaos. So I totally agree with you. And yeah, I mean, it's cool to just, I think, see this list and to talk about everything we've
yeah,
done. It's crazy that it's only been a year that we've done all of this.
yeah,
But it feels good. I feel proud.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you do. I do too. I feel
Yeah.
proud of our team. My God,
Hmm. Hmm.
so much talent.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love our team. We have a
Yeah,
really, really good team.
so easy to work with everyone.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, it's like things just happen in the way that I don't even envision early in the week.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, well, that's wonderful. I guess Happy New Year, everyone.
See you next time.